Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. Just setting everything up right now, getting ready, and we're just gonna jump right into it. So, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself for everybody. This is the EricSwanRacing.com podcast, and I have Jackson Blackmon on today. I think this is episode 43 or 44, maybe. And tell me who you are.
Yes, I'm Jackson Blackman out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm 19 years old, and this will be my sixth season racing professionally in Moto America. I've been riding bikes since I was about 8 years old, and my dad, Chuck Blackman, used to be a former racer in AMA and raced the Harley 883 series, and so he kind of got me started in racing. And then back when I was probably about 12 years old, started going to the big tracks, getting more serious, and everything just kind of led its way to this point.
So your family has a history of racing then.
Yeah.
And so I bet that helps out a lot. You can kind of, talk to him about different ideas you have or ask him questions about certain situations. I'm sure that's very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely been a blessing to have my dad who raced before me and kind of knew the right people and way to kind of bring me up in racing that I kind of felt was the right way, looking back at everything now and starting out, kind of letting me become interested in it myself. And then as I kind of showed more interest, he kind of, got more involved. And of course, I had enough skill to get me going and get me started. And then, meet other people down the road that's kind of helped get me to this point. But definitely majority of it's come from him and his experience and, being my dad, crew chief, mechanic, all the above.
So is that always the plan before you were born to get you into racing, or did it just kind of happen?
It's actually kind of a funny story. He got me a little Honda 50 when I was maybe like 7 years old or six, somewhere around there. And I was terrified of it at first. Like now I see like kids, ride the PW 50s at like 2 or 3 years old, but at like 6 or 7, I was terrified.
Yeah.
And then right when he was getting ready to sell the bikes and just kind of, let everything, kind of go and see what else I'd be interested in. Right when he was getting ready to sell the bike, I actually just started showing a lot of interest and wanted to go ride all the time. And then it just kind of never stopped from there.
Right as it was going away, you're like, no, I want that now, right?
Yeah, that seems to be how it goes.
And so you progressed from 50s and moved on from there. I'm actually looking at buying a 50cc. I've never had one before. I've rode one around my friends and here and there, but I don't have a ton of experience with the small bikes. So I'm looking to try to do that. And there's a kart track that's really close to my house. They have timing and scoring. A lot of my friends do that. You might know John Hawkins and Carl Soltys. They go there. They race Moto America 600 class. Some entries here and there at certain rounds. But yeah, it's great training for adults and children, it seems.
Yeah, it's definitely was cool that the I still go ride now a good bit at the Heron compound in Dublin, Georgia, at Josh Heron's place. And actually it was like my first race there was on my little Sierra 50.
Yeah.
And I think from what I remember, I actually went out on the track backwards. My dad chased me down, turned me around, and now to this day, now I ride the R3 out there to the XR100. Just kind of, I think the kart tracks are awesome for training. And then you go on the big track, and it feels like so much room, like for speed and to push.
So they'll allow you to ride a 300 on those kart tracks.
Yeah. I think it seemed like Ashton Yates was the first one I saw that kind of he took his KTM RC390 out there and was testing it before when all that stuff was happening, like 2015. Um, and then more recently, he started riding his Ninja 400 out there. And then I was like, well, shoot, I got a stock R3 at my house. And so me and my dad just we took everything's pretty much stock except it has a exhaust on it.
Okay.
And we put slicks on it, put a good front brake, cut the rear sets in half so they wouldn't drag.
Yeah.
And then it's been running ever since, like for a good 3 years of riding on it and just changing the oil, little stuff like that. And even with stock suspension, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with it, and you're just learning right now and feeling the bike. It's a practice bike, so you don't need top of the line stuff. You can just ride it as is on as stock. It's still great. It's just not perfect.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And even when I was racing the junior cup on the Graves R3 thing, and whenever I'd get on the race bike after practice on the stock bike, it just everything would feel so nice. Like so like felt so spoiled on the race bike versus living with all the soft suspension on the stock bike and all the bumps and everything, and then hop on the Graves R3 and it felt like crazy good.
But I think it's important to have gone through those years of riding those kind of bikes, and to practice on them because it does make you better. You ride around things that you wouldn't maybe otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that and I don't per se have an exact enough experience to say like one way is right or wrong, but in my head I seem to think that there's no big rush into getting up on big bikes real quick and everything. And I mean, I was still race junior cup in 2019 when I was 17 years old, which I know to some people may be a little old on a little bike, but it just my dad kind of always had the theory of you know running at the front of one class before moving up to the next, or like winning amateur for expert, and then kind of going that route. And so far it's definitely seemed to help me to fully or to the best I can kind of fully use the bike I have before adding the power and weight of the next bike.
Yeah, I'm always an advocate for trying to go as far as possible. I always stayed on a 600. I never moved up from a 600 to 1,000 because I told myself I don't need to until I win a world championship on a 600. I still have tons to learn.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely you know crazy to see like some street guys just go buy a 1000, and then they miss so many learning curves from the previous bikes. But definitely agree with you there, like on the especially on a 600 with so many world level riders racing them, like there's always something to improve on and to go faster on.
Yeah, and even the fastest guys, they're going faster every time if the conditions are right. They always are setting lap records, and that's just it amazes me because it may be only a couple tenths faster, but nobody's ever done that before. That's the first time that's ever happened. It happens like every other weekend.
Yeah, yeah, the Mid America stuff it is crazy because I mean I've been racing there for a decent amount, and always like to go watch all the guys. And seems like no matter who's in the classes, or the competitive level is always there. Like going and watch qualifying, and then just when you think it's that's a track record already, then in the race they'll go break that. And then it's crazy on the to see how much, like, literally if there's just like some clouds in the sky or not, how it could affect the lap times. And whenever they're pushing that hard.
Everything's so finicky at that level. It could be a suspension setting or a tire pressure, or you got the wrong tire compound for that event. It could be so many different things, or the rider, had a bad day. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, yeah, I remember actually I think it was 2019, I was racing junior cup at VIR, and we went out on slicks, and then it started to drizzle rain, and I crashed along with a bunch of other riders on the first lap. Then we rushed in to get the bike together, and everybody, it looked like it was going to stay dry, but we had figured since we didn't know if we were going to make it out in time, we're like, well, why not throw on the reins, And so we threw on the reins, and I ended up finding out that if you miss the siding lap, you're supposed to start last. So I missed the siding lap, but I made the warm up lap. And so maybe I should have looked at the rules a little bit better, because I thought as long as I made the warm up lap, I started my spot. So I grid up on the third row with the reins, and it starts pouring rain on the grid, and I start looking at everybody's tires and see a bunch of slicks, and I was like, well, this is looking pretty good. And then crossed the line first, but then found out about the penalty from the start. I got penalized 20 seconds. So ended up second.
Well, that's still
It was
pretty
still pretty
good, but
cool how the
yeah.
with the weather worked out. Like even though we were scrambling to get the bike together, actually it was kind of an advantage to wait and see what the weather was gonna do.
Yeah, in the heat of the moment, it's really easy to make those tiny mistakes. It seems like a tiny mistake, right? Just not go into the right place in your grid. But um, it's good they didn't disqualify you. At least you got to a podium out of it and a good finish in the rain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely. I've It's funny the guys at Moto America say I test all their rules. Uh, like at Road America, I had a jump start penalty in 2017, and then I'd never. It was my second full season at Moto America, but I never jumped to start before Moto America, and maybe was a bit oblivious to how their ride through works. And so I thought it was like a wheel race where you can go wide open, hot pit, and then stop and then go. And so I come up the hill at Road America beside Ben Smith, and we're looking at each other going up, and I'm going into the pits, and he's on the main straight. And then all the way down the hot pit, I was just like almost wide open, like looking at Ben. He's looking back at me. And then half the people I see are like saying to slow down. Half of them are just like, screw it, keep going. And so I rode through there and then thought I still got second. And then of course when I came in, got a big penalty, and I think I'd hit like I think I have the record for the fastest speed through hot pit at like I don't know, maybe 85 mile an hour or something like that through hot pit, which of course is not anything to brag about, but I just was kind of I learned the hard way with how the rules and stuff are in Moto America compared to like some of the club racing stuff.
Yeah, they're a little bit more strict, and it matters more when you get those penalties. So, do you have a pit limiter now on your bike?
So actually in the Twins Cup we don't have the pit limiters. Um, we technically could have it, but it's just kind of a little, now I just make sure that, go way under the speed and kind of now we have an idea from the dyno and stuff. I kind of around what RPM and what gear to stay below. And so of course in qualifying and practice and stuff, there's no need to get a fine for getting to the crew like 30 seconds sooner. So I always just kind of take my time now. And I've learned too from a couple jump starts that it's definitely not worth it. The 20-second or the ride through penalty or the 20-second penalty is definitely not worth a a wheel or bike length off the start.
Yeah. It's it seems like a really harsh penalty, but you have to stop that because you can't have people jumping the start, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Even my dad joked about he was curious if anybody's ever jumped the start on purpose, like as soon as the race started.
Yeah.
And then if they came and did the ride through, if it would still equal out. But I'm sure that if you go before the green flag, it'd probably count as no lap.
Well, Jorge Lorenzo did that really early in one of the races, and he was just like he paused for a second. He's like, I'm gonna keep going because they're gonna start anyway. But yeah, it happens. Everybody makes mistakes. And are these jump starts from flags or lights?
Um, Majority for me has been from the lights.
From lights.
I seem to get a little bit antsy on the
Okay.
grid, and
And it's when the lights go out.
yeah, yeah,
Lights go
it's
out.
I think the lights cut on for I believe they said 2 to 5 seconds somewhere in there, like random timing. But sometimes it just feels like so long. It's been like the longest 5 seconds of my life on the grid,
Everything
just
just
trying to get a
slows
good
down.
start. Yeah,
Um, are you a good starter if you get a good start?
I'd say I'm a pretty decent starter. Um, I've never had like any terrible starts per se. But definitely like at tracks like VIR and Roadland and stuff, the start's real important. Starting into like a nice like technical section there, and so I think from all the club racing and stuff, I get pretty decent starts. But I'm definitely no like Mike Alessi or anything like that.
Yeah. Um, you got to be careful. You can't stuff it up the inside too hard because you might take someone out, and that's the worst thing is hitting somebody else. It's one thing if you take yourself out, but you never want to hit someone else, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Even at I kind of learned my lesson with that at Laguna in 2017. I got a good start. I was behind Corey Ventura. I think I was in second at Laguna. Um, but for only a couple of turns, as we went into turn two at Laguna, and then it looked like Corey had the door open some, so I tried to go up under the inside, got on the gas too hard, and then my teammate Ben Smith had nowhere to go, and then ran me over, and I was like, yeah, looking back at that, would have been a lot better just to sit behind Corey for at least a couple of turns there and not get too anxious off the start.
More about patience, right? It's not a 8 lap sprint race anymore. It's 20. Well, it depends on the track. Could be up to 20 laps.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like the longest races seem to be like at Road America. It's just like such a long waiting game, like on this long straights. I'm sure on a 600, 1000, it doesn't feel as long, but especially when you race the KTM Cup bikes there, it'd just be like, it felt like a minute straight away, like just sitting there, like,
Just wide open for 30 seconds at a time.
yeah,
And it's more like a couple of drag strips connected with some turns.
yeah, yeah. That seems to be how it feels. Especially there, like the draft and everything is such a big factor. If there's a headwind or tailwind and stuff like that will determine like how the whole race goes.
Those long straightaways tend to lend themselves to large groups, especially for the Junior Cup bikes.
Yeah, yeah. Even like this past year, I love just even watching the Junior Cup races because it's always so, especially knowing like being in those races, how like half the time, at least when I was in those scenarios, I didn't even know how it was gonna play out.
You're
Just
just
kind
doing
of,
the best you can.
yeah, you always kind of have an idea in your head of what you'd like to do, and then you get stuffed by one guy, another guy comes around, and you're like, well, what now, And then as you're thinking that, it's already a few turns to go or whatever it is, and it's always some good racing.
Do you usually have in your head, oh, I'm good in turn 3 or turn 4? That's where I'm going to make my move, or it's just whatever happens, happens?
Yeah, I always try and have some sort of a plan. Um, but sometimes it's tough. Like in KTM Cup, it would always work out with all the bikes the same. I always knew that if I was behind a guy and I was also a real small rider then, um, that like if I was behind like my teammate Ben Smith, then I could pretty much drive by him like anywhere. And so that was definitely a nice like advantage of my size and stuff. Whereas in Twins Cup, it seems like like last year's a lot more of setting up, and the Yamaha and Suzuki's have different strengths, and so it was definitely like a lot more strategy involved in trying to like set somebody up, and unless there's a mistake or something that's just kind of like a last second lunge or something like that.
And there's not a lot of mistakes at that level.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I feel like I'm on a real fast lap, and they come around and see him in P6 or whatever, and then like Rocco come by me, I just try and latch down behind him or whatever it is, and it's definitely I never realized how that the Twins Cup um could be like so competitive. Like now putting the lightweight class in Moto America, um, before we were doing at VRR and like the SV challenge, which I think was with CCS maybe. Um, there's a bunch of fast SV guys, maybe like a 20 rider grid of SVs, and I think the fastest was like Xavier did a maybe 32 or 33 with like Pirellis on, and I did like a 34 or 35. I felt like that was like really fast. And then I think when they raced it last time, which I'm sure they'll go even faster this year, was like a 31 or something like that, which is crazy fast for the lightweight bikes.
They're moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going really fast there. It's tough though. Being at a hard track like VIR with the elevation and just the layout of the track, it's difficult with any bike.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually pretty crazy there. Is like, I live in Rock Hill, South Carolina, but it's kind of like my home track. Because I've been riding there since I was on my dad had me a RS 125 chassis with a Honda 150R motor in it. And so, I mean, it was real slow, but it was like a great bike to learn on and stuff when I was younger. And so I've been riding there since I was on that thing. And then, to the junior cup bikes and the twins and all that. So it's definitely cool to have experience on the same track for a long time. Feels like it's, kind of definitely a slight advantage.
Oh yeah, you see your progression over the time
Yeah, for sure.
and a little bit more understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. I think and also I guess I never thought about too the conditions as well as knowing how the track is if it's a little cold where, some of the West Coast guys aren't used to the cold weather here. And that maybe the track isn't that bad in the cold and be able to go out and rip by somebody when it's a little bit colder or something. That's always kind of a nice feeling to kind of know the track condition better than the next guy.
You ever been in the northern tracks when it's actually snowing?
No, not that seems pretty scary to me.
It was. Yeah, and in Michigan at Grattan Raceway, it was actually snowing on the track. There was ice in turn one and like turn six. I think they asked us to take our vehicles out on the track so we could break up the ice.
Dang, that to me would be really scary because I know even I've had a time or two where nobody's perfect and maybe the the breaker tripped on the RV or something and my tires were a little cold before I went out and that was kind of scary, but I could not imagine like ice or snow. Like,
I mean, it was just a track day, but I liked it. I like riding in difficult conditions because it just challenges you. That's how you get better. I advanced from novice track day rider to intermediate um, in the rain because no one else wanted to ride. It was me and two other instructors, and one of the other instructors crashed, and I got bumped up because he said if you could ride through this, you could ride through anything.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, the it's definitely crazy how, especially like when it rains and stuff, how it brings out like, maybe where the sometimes the bike isn't as good. The rain seems to everybody calls the equalizer of skill and bike and everything, like with the conditions playing a part of kind of leveling everything out.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I was going fast, but I didn't crash.
Yeah.
I stayed on the
Was-
bike, and you just learn.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. And even when I was about 12, I started going out to I don't know if you've heard of the place Corner Spin before
Oh
in
yeah,
North Carolina.
it's like a teaching a lesson place.
Yeah. And the guy Aaron Stevenson would teach me a lot there. He ended up coaching me for a few years and now I actually go help instruct some there with some street guys and stuff and getting comfortable when there's not a lot of traction and staying on top of the bike and all that stuff and just being safe too, even for street riders and stuff. It's always good to know when the conditions are changing. It's to not get tensed up or scared or anything, just kind of relax and be aware of everything going on.
I found in the rain, at first, I rode totally differently with my body position and everything. And I was like, why am I changing it? I should be accentuating what I was doing before, not being stiffening up and not riding right.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, it definitely seems weird in the rain. I feel like I almost ride like supermoto kind of.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite to that extent, but lifting the bike up and being real easy. And I've always kind of been fairly decent in the rain. But actually, it's kind of weird to think about this past year. I don't think we had one rain race.
This year's
At
gonna be
least,
completely rain then.
yeah, that seems to be how it would go.
Do you prefer the rain races, or do you like them to be dry, intermediate,
Um,
drying?
my favorite is probably just straight dry. Like just being able to go out and push and um. But I have been a fan of like drying tracks or when it's like damp, like where it's wet enough for rains, but it's not like pouring rain. Normally, I don't exactly get the conditions I always want. Um, but I've always kind of liked being able to rip in with the reins on, being like knee down in the wet when it's just, it's wet enough, but not a monsoon or anything. And it seems to definitely be fun to kind of ride a little. It's almost like ride in the dry with hot slicks. Of course, not exactly the same, but semi similar.
I think there's a huge opportunity in the drying conditions where it's raining or drying that people can excel because not a lot of people want to push. They want to be patient, they want to be cautious. And if you have something to prove, you can excel there. It's risky, but you could do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's even where JD Beach got his first win at VR. I think it was some like mixed conditions where he kind of played the cards right, and but I've definitely noticed when it comes to the top tier riders, it seems like they're normally conditioned to be good in a lot of different scenarios and conditions, and definitely don't see the big guys make many mistakes even when the conditions are rough and stuff like that.
They're just good everywhere.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that.
So now also one thing I was gonna ask you is, and everything's been flowing real good. I like how you had the podcast set up. So how do you kind of start into this stuff?
So I started podcasting a couple months ago, back in May, but I wanted to do it for years. I just didn't know how to start. And then I got kind of fed up with not doing it and not putting out new content because I stopped racing. So I'm not racing motorsports right now just because of the finances of everything. And I'm working on my business. So in order to promote my business, I wanted to create original content. And I had kind of posted every single picture that I had ever gotten that was good for racing, and I ran out of new material. So I'm like, what can I do that's new? That's I'm still involved in the motorsport community, and I have a network of all these people that I know. How can I use this to my advantage? And I want to also, connect with people I haven't met before, like yourself. Connect with racers, mechanics, crew chiefs. Maybe I'll get a ride one day from this. You never know.
Yeah.
Just networking, I think, is a great thing to do. I'm trying to promote my business, ericswanracing.com. Everybody should go there and spend all their money, please. I sell race parts. I sell all kinds of stuff. Motorcycle parts for racing, for cars, car parts. I have a little bit of mountain bike and motocross gear, and just trying to promote all that stuff. So I have about 40 some podcasts right now. I've gone on 2 other podcasts trying to just promote everything, and it's like I want to go on the news and just get as many eyeballs as possible. I'm trying to get bigger guests like yourself to help try to promote everything. And if we get some movie star, then you get thousands of views just overnight. It's like that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, I've noticed this year. Like right now, I don't exactly have um, a ride for this year, or I'm still getting stuff worked out, and doing everything I can to make sure something happens, and I feel pretty sure I'll be racing at least one way or another. Um, but I definitely realize the importance of the like social networking and having a good following and how that stuff matters more almost now than just the racing. Like especially with the corona and all the stuff happened last year and falling into this year, it seems like everybody's struggling. But when it comes to where you can show firsthand, electronically, like, hey, so I've reached all these people and these people have visited my stuff, and it's like straight evidence to why like you're a good candidate to have sponsors and support from people and to push a product or a brand and everything. And that's one thing I've been trying to work on is trying to post more. And actually I always see you on my feed a lot.
Oh, that's
You're
great.
definitely doing good because I always see your stuff, and so lately I've been trying to post more and trying to create like new stuff. Like you said, it's real easy to run out of, the same looking racing photos and stuff, and trying to branch out into different things. And it's definitely cool like doing this podcast here. I think the only other one I did was with Mo America once. But this one's going much better because I was actually kind of sick in that one.
Oh yeah.
So my voice is kind of all like groggy and stuff. And
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
it's
just
cool too, like the way.
open and flowing, and I have no bullet points or no notes, which is maybe a bad thing sometimes. But
Yeah,
I've noticed that when I do, like I've had it a many podcasts where I have 10 bullet points. I try to at least make so I don't run out of topics. But I feel like when I do that, it becomes very question and answer type of interview show, and I don't really want to do interview show. I want to have a conversation with you and ask you questions off the top of my head. And some of them, like, I wanted to ask you certain things like that I have stored in there. But if I get to most of them, great. I don't have to hit every single one. And for certain guests, like who's maybe an author, I might have different agenda, right? But it all depends on who I'm talking to.
yeah, definitely. Like, dude, I've never done any kind of interview or podcast or anything like face to face. That was like electronically. I think that helps a lot too. Like being able to flow, like seeing somebody like their face too. I think helps like the connection. It seems to me like and be able to flow along. Because it already feels like I've known you for a while at this point.
Yeah, I think in person is definitely better because you see their mannerisms. On here, it's really easy to talk over people and interrupt, and then the other person is still talking, and they don't hear it. It's just not the best communication style. But I'll take it for now because I can't fly you out to Michigan and put you up in a hotel yet. I can't afford to do that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I've been just working on my business. EricSwannRacing.com and ShopESR.com is my website. I sell a lot on eBay. I sell on Amazon. I sell on the local marketplace, Craigslist, and I don't really use Facebook Marketplace, but that's an option I can do. Um, and so I got some workers that are helping me out and just trying to list all kinds of new products all the time. I'm in constant contact with them every day, talking back and forth with what we need to do and what we need to accomplish. We're getting some driven racing products online as we speak, and Roland Sands Designs, all their apparel stuff we're selling, selling Bonamici rear sets, Easy Grip tank grips. We're a Moto D vendor, so we have tire warmers and bike stands. We have Spark exhausts. We have Akrapovic or Akrapovic, however you want to say it. And we have M4 performance exhaust. We don't have them online yet, but we also have Carvin car exhausts. So those are pretty cool. And we have Cosmos racing wheels for cars. Don't have, we are a core moto dealer, but not much of it is online yet. That's what we're working on as well. So brake lines, they have all kinds of brake lines, but they have forged aluminum rims as well. So that's a great product that helps you go faster. They might have the magnesium ones too, but a lot of them, they're trying to make them all in-house, which takes a lot of time and machinery and R&D and errors and time and process to get it right. So it's taking a little longer to manufacture them, but they're doing it in the USA right in-house, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I'm surprised I haven't brought anything up yet. My dad actually owns a machine shop.
Okay.
Kind of like a job shop, and he has I believe 4 mills and 4 lathes. And so I do a lot of work in there, during the season, off season to help pay for the racing and stuff. And even the past few years, we made some parts for some of the KTM Cup bikes and stuff like that. And it's definitely real cool stuff. Like even the lightweight wheels you're talking about, we had some. I think the brand we used last year were Dimag, but of course all the forged aluminum stuff is all real similar. And that's one thing I noticed a big difference in, even on the bike. Like the difference in the lightweight wheels, everything's spinning quicker and all that stuff definitely makes more of a difference than I think some people realize.
Yeah, that rotational mass is one of the biggest performance upgrades you can do. Suspension, tires, and brakes, and then your, rims are not the next thing I would really buy. But if you want to upgrade the best bang for your buck, that's one of them. A stabilizer. That's so basic though. That's like almost mandatory.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I was gonna ask, will you be coming out to some Moto America rounds this year?
I'd like to. I don't have any dotted on my schedule yet. Um, Everything's been changing. I don't know. Do you think all the rounds are going to be moved around again like there was last year?
It's kind of tough to say. I have a feeling the first few should be good. Because I think they already changed Road Atlanta once.
Yeah.
Or at least I hope it's where it's at right now. Because at least that's where I have my schedule and everything marked out for.
Yeah.
But I hope that it doesn't go like last year, because I think at least the good part is, since Moto America was the first like motorsport back going, I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on to fit everybody's rules and needs in the country to make sure we can keep on racing, and I'm hoping eventually things will kind of get back to normal, or this may kind of be the new normal. For all I know, I'm not the most experienced with that stuff, so I'm not gonna act like I am, but I just wanna race and see the racing climb back up. It just kind of seems like there's a lot of guys struggling right now to get to the track, and that's never a good thing to see. But yeah, it sounds really cool too with the like growing the business and stuff, and I hope that at least if we meet at a round or something, we could talk and even do another one in person or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool for sure. I don't plan on going back to the racetrack and riding myself, unfortunately, for the next probably 2 or 3 years. But in about 2 or 3 years, I will be. That's my plan, anyways. I'm trying to do a whole bunch of things, adult things, which aren't always the most fun. Saving a lot of money. That's my main goal right now, is just saving, trying to stockpile my cash. Every paycheck, I save tons of money right off the top. It doesn't sit there for long. Just goes right into my savings and investing account. And then trying to buy a new truck, buy a house, save for like a buffer in my savings. You always need that, and emergency fund type thing. And that's right. That's like thousands of dollars, $80,000 I'm talking about, just in savings, and to buy these things. So down payment on a house ain't cheap. And then washer and dryer possibly, and fridge and a stove, and all these things. So but then yes, it's on my goal list to buy a motorcycle, buy an actual enclosed trailer, because I've always used a Harbor Freight open trailer I built myself. So got to get all that. I got to get some more gear. I do have some things. I still have a race suit. I need a new helmet because it's expired and I sold it. And then I have gloves. I have a back protector. I think I need boots. But with a lot of the vendors I sell, I'm going to buy those parts at cost, and maybe they'll help me out with them. Who knows? So I already have my own sponsors in the vendors that I sell.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think what some things that people don't realize, even like, I've been racing professionally and everything, but I'm just like a normal guy too, like still got, kind of becoming an adult now, about 19, and that boring stuff, and at the same time just trying to go racing and not go broke, pretty much. That's the
Hard.
goal, is to try and race as much as possible and not go broke, and I'm actually looking at trying to buy a house sometime in the next couple of years and stuff like that. And so I've even some goals outside of racing, but of course the main focus, I think right now I have so much time and everything of trying to chase this dream while I can, but also know that it's not something that goes away. Like the passion for racing, everything Josh Hayes doesn't stop racing for a long time. Like it's definitely time. And even if I don't get to race as much as I would like to this year, if I could at least, save money and look at putting something together again for the next year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just keep telling myself I can get back to racing as soon as I can afford it. So just make as much money as possible and be really, really strict with your spending. Like don't go out to eat every day or every week, or just like buy all your groceries, and you buy a dozen eggs for like $1. So there's no excuse for if you go to the
Yeah.
grocery store and do that, you could eat for that's 3 days, or 3 meals at least. And or if you eat out, that could be $10 a meal or $5 a meal. Um, it's way higher cost when you're eating out like that. So just being smart with your money is important. And I plan on buying a house and renting out some of the rooms as roommates to other people. And I've done that before, and I'm doing that now. And I think it's a great way to help make extra money on the side if you don't mind living with somebody else. And picking up a little trash here and there, which is always a little frustrating, but um, it, it pays the bills, and I think it's really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that the race and stuff is definitely is pricey. Like there's so many, even with help, just like for instance in Twins Cups, I've been putting together like the budget and stuff, even not using all the tires in the limit. It's about 1,600 a weekend for 4 sets of tires, like 400 a set, and you have to buy them from Dunlop, and 1,600 in the weekend just for tires, is crazy. I don't think some people realize how much money is there. And a lot of times, if I'm already at the pro race, I'm like, well, I've already spent the money here. If everybody's put on a new set for qualifying, I'm put one on too, and figure it out later.
Yeah.
But then there's some guys, that even budget off like 2 sets of tires, um, and that's kind of sometimes where it's tough to compete with some of the factory teams. Which, I mean, last year I had a great team and we had a great program. I was able to be competitive with the M4 and some of the other Yamahas and stuff. And but definitely this year, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing yet, but whatever it is might be a little more on a budget, but sometimes kind of gives a little more motivation too to kind of ride through what you can.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I think it's just so important to ride through those challenges, and it makes you a better person. It builds that character.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely one thing I've noticed is sometimes the best races I have is when like something bad happens beforehand. It just kind of like it's like that little extra motivation. Like even at Utah 2017, I got food poisoning actually
Oh no.
on Saturday night, and then I didn't think I was gonna be able to race on Sunday because I had to like constantly go to the bathroom in the morning and stuff, and was taking like Pepto Bismol on the grid and stuff, and then but I ended up just like whenever the lights went out, just like kind of forgot about everything, like overthinking anything on the track and stuff, and was just like focused on like not throwing up or whatever, and then ended up winning the race. um of course luckily the most of the symptoms kind of came through like the day after, you know
Yeah.
so it wasn't terrible. um but I feel like it almost kind of helped me just kind of like relax and not put as much pressure, kind of knowing there's some adversity there.
That's kind of interesting, the psychology there of no pressure, so you do better. That happens to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely, I know some people are kind of the opposite, but it seems like for me, I kind of am a mental case, as I've been told in the past, and I definitely accept it, but for me, it's like, it seems like when I ride the best when I can just get all the stuff out of my head. And so that's one thing I've been working on the last year, is just kind of knowing that I control my head and what I think about. and not letting certain things get in my head and distract me, and just kind of knowing at the same time we are just racing motorcycles.
Right. Yeah, put it in perspective.
Yeah, of course the pressure and everything, like I know how serious it is and the work it takes, and I put in the work and definitely take a very professional and serious look on it, but then also have to add the fun factor in too, because that's the reason we're doing it, especially for the majority of us that are still paying to race. It's got to have some level of fun and like with that passion behind it.
So you've been racing in Moto America. This would be what, the 6th season?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I raced KTM Cup the full season in 2016, the full season of KTM Cup in 2017. Raced the Junior Cup season in 2018, Junior Cup season 2019, and then 2019 I raced New Jersey and Barber in Twins Cup, which I believe I got second. I got second in my first Twins Cup race at New Jersey. I think a 7th at Barber.
Okay.
And then in Junior Cup, that was I believe I got 4th in the championship in 2019. And I think since I had a top 5 in 2018 as well, since I had gotten top 5 in the championship twice, I couldn't race Junior Cup again.
Okay.
And so then took the step to Twins Cup this past season, and then planning to race at least some Twins Cup this season.
Okay. Now, why the what do you call it? The switch to Junior Cup instead of Super Sport?
I think mainly just the inexperience I have on a 600. I already kind of done some racing in Twins on the SV and stuff, and club racing and track days and such, while I was racing Junior Cup. And so it kind of made sense already kind of having some experience where the 600 class is so competitive, and I don't really have much experience on one. It just kind of made more sense to go Twins Cup, and I think it's a little bit cheaper.
It's a little bit easier of a stepping stone, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But those SVs are still pretty fast. Everybody says, "Oh, what's the top speed?" That's always the question, right? From outsiders, how fast do you go?
Yeah. I think this year actually at Road America, I know we hit over 140, which is
Still pretty
crazy on the
fast.
SV. Like especially like a few years ago, a fast SV was 130.
Yeah.
And now we're pushing like well over 140. It's crazy to think those Twins, and now they had the 600 or 1000 front ends and the big brakes, big double rotors and all that stuff. It's like like literally like a mini super bike.
Yeah. Now, what about the bagger class? You're gonna do that?
I wish. I don't have anything lined up to race the baggers, but it'd be really fun to. I was even telling my dad the other day about how it'd be cool to race something different. And there's actually a lot of money and stuff involved. They got a lot of attention, and even some riders were talking to me, and they're like, well, how come they're getting like more exposure than us? And I was like, did you not enjoy to watch it? I know I made sure to go to the corkscrew to watch that one, and I'm racing the Twins or whatever, so I know like if I'm that interested in it, I can't blame other people for being interested in it. Maybe
it's all about entertainment value. What do people want to watch? What do you want to spend your time on? Do people even want to watch this podcast? I don't know. What do you guys want to see? It's like, what do people want? It's like, what can you provide them? And the bagger class is new. It's exciting. It's like, wow, I've never seen those on track before. That's kind of neat. Those crashes are going to be a little different, I'm sure, but let's see it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think Road America's done a real good job with. Now they have the mini cup to the superbike and pretty much everything in between. And now
I think they should have a senior cup, because I think it stops at 55. So like I'm not able to race in my prime. I raced I was on track from when I was 20 to 25. and so like 5 years or so, not too long. And I think that I'll be racing maybe from when I'm 30 to when I'm 75 or 80, right? So what am I going to do after I turn 55? Do I have to go back to club racing, or is there going to be another class that opens up? Because what if I'm winning the championship at 55 and they say, oh, you can't race next year because you're 56? Bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely crazy they have so many classes. I think, it's just opened up for, as much time in the day they have, like for the me, it'd be like the race weekend would be a race week, it's
Right.
like full of racing and I even want to do like some AFT stuff eventually, some like American flat track. I do a good bit of flat track for training and stuff and I love it. It's just like a lot of fun. Like any kind of racing is racing, it's all just, I love it the same. Of course, I have the most experience in road racing, so it makes the most sense to, kind of stay in that route. But the like you're saying, I like seeing all kind of racing at all levels, and that's kind of the best part. That there's no limit except for the rules of the class. Like
Yeah.
nobody can tell you have to ride a certain way or do something like you know, any certain way. You just go ride and nobody really tell you what to do.
Yeah, and I've been even following a lot of sports car stuff and open wheel, Formula One. Obviously, they're not racing right now, but IMSA and WEC, World Endurance Championship stuff. I love that. I love just watched the Rolex 24. I didn't watch all 24, but I saw they even had the week before they had the Mazda MX-5 races. You can watch that on the NBC Sports app. I pay for that. It's like I don't know, it's like $16 a year. It's like nothing. Um, and you get the whole IMSA pass for the year. I don't know how much it is off the top of my head. It might be something like that, but it's fairly cheap and it's great. You get to watch all the races. The MX-5. Talk about patience, because those cars at Daytona, they're not pulling away. They're all drafting each other and bumping each other, and they're getting penalties for bumping each other too much and too much extended contact because they're just on each other's ass the entire race. And it's all about no mistakes. And then the last lap is just a melee, and you got the guy who led out of the straightaway and led the entire race gets 8th place, and the guy who was in 8th place gets first because everybody's just drafting, and it's just ridiculous. I love that stuff. I love kart racing. I want to seriously do kart racing I think I could do it at a high level, just like motorcycle racing. I just need the money. So as soon as I sell enough for my business, I'm gonna get back doing that. And I never raced karts. I did a winter racing league for karts, but not really anything at a high level. It's just the local track here.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely seems like the leading thing with motorsports is a lot financially, kind of what you
Yeah,
can afford to do or not,
pretty much.
and
Um,
that seems to always be definitely a big factor, especially now with there's not exactly a factory team even like in Moto America. There's about as close to it with the Attack Fresh and Lean Yamaha team, but there's not a factory Yamaha per se, and not like Yoshimura Suzuki anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, one of my questions I was asking people for a while is, are you privateer or factory? And I talked to Bobby Fong, and he's not factory. So I mean, nobody's factory.
Yeah,
There might be two guys in the country, right?
yeah, which is crazy because even like Loris Baz coming over, he's not even exactly factory here.
Yeah, there's no factory support. They don't. But the thing is, we're still riding their bikes. They don't need to. That's their idea. That's their perspective.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of I've noticed too. It seems with a lot of the factory guys, it seems like a lot of budget goes into Supercross. And I
Yeah.
mean, I love Supercross and everything, but it'd be nice to see the same level, so many competitive teams in Supercross, like in Moto America and stuff, stuff like that.
That definitely would be nice, and to see that progression, just like they did in Supercross, and the changing of all the big sponsors coming in. I think that could happen, but they pack stadiums, right, on a regular basis. That's why they have that. And I don't know that Moto America does that pack. I don't think they pack stadiums yet. Um, I don't normally go attend a lot of races because I'm working so much on my business, and I work a full-time job, and I have, like I said, renters and all that, and it's a lot. So um, I watch a lot of races on TV, and usually if I'm going to go to a race, it's because I'm racing. It's
Yeah.
very rarely that I'll go watch a race. Even like to go watch a Moto America race, it's like it's killing me because I should be out in that class. Um, but my friend is, and I'm trying to support him, So
Yeah, definitely for me. I mean, I enjoy being at the track, but it's definitely a kind of mixed emotion if I'm there and not racing.
yeah,
It's just not, like it's just not the same.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think in 2 or 3 years I'll be doing track days again. I want to do, I don't know about a season of track days. I think that might be excessive because I was an expert racer and I earned my pro license. I just wasn't able to afford to use it back in 2015. And so I think I do a couple of track days and then I'll do some WERA racing. I don't know if I have to do novice again, but I don't think that'll take too long to get back up to expert because I'm still up at the same pace or faster, I think, than when I left off. I'm just not used to the bike anymore because I don't have a street bike at all. So I haven't been riding anything lately. Just my bicycle. I switched over to mountain bikes, so I've been racing mountain bikes for my training and getting a lot of fitness with that. Um, but I'm sure I'll pick it up just fine. I've been doing sim racing upstairs in my living room with a legit Formula One sim rig, and with the pedals and the wheel and everything. And it's awesome. I went over to my buddy Al's house. I did a podcast with him. He was one of the first one, Al Zahui, and man, his is so much better. We have pretty much the same wheel and base and pedals, but his setup, like I bought the cheapest rig that I could find because I just wanted the best base and get a cheap best wheel and get a cheap base. And he got one of the best bases. He has the 3 monitors, and
Oh,
he's got it's just mine rattles and goes back and forth like it shouldn't move. That's my biggest complaint is mine moves. The wheel moves and it shouldn't, and it's frustrating when you're trying to have trying to find every tenth or hundredth of a second out there, and your setup is not what you need it to be. Making mistakes because of it. Um, the pedal system, I just duct taped it in place with some Gorilla Tape. It's not the best, but I can use it. And I've been playing the Formula One video game. I pretty much beat the Gran Turismo Sport, so I moved on to that. But he's got iRacing for PC and Assetto Corsa, which is like legit esports. And I want to do that stuff because I think I could be competitive in the online esport with iRacing and the Assetto Corsa Competizione is the game.
yeah, and it's crazy even with that stuff. Like it's pretty serious. Like from what I know, guys are making money off that stuff. And I mean, like, why not? Like
Yeah, and
it's still competitive racing, just and in a different way.
yep, you're still getting your fix. It's just way cheaper, and yeah, it's really competitive, and you get there's a really big part of community in these racing games where if you hit someone, it really matters, and you get penalized, and it's like disqualification immediately and all this stuff. So they take it seriously. It's not like you're getting rammed like you do in Gran Turismo all the time. They try to separate those people out as best they can. So it should be more realistic. And there's so many settings on those games that you can change. It feels like you're driving the real car.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely crazy that I've always had the MotoGP games, everything, and actually when I went to the VR46 Master Camp in 2018, and some of the training I found out that the Moto2, Moto3 guys, MotoGP guys, and the VR46 Academy do is the simulator training. You got to get on one of those, And it was pretty crazy how real, like, I felt like, like I was sitting on just a straight Moto2 bike. And um, but of course the physics are a little bit off, but they said they use it for physical training and some mind training and stuff, like playing videos from Masano and stuff. But it would kind of work whereas you pick up the throttle, the bike would kind of stand up, and
Okay.
as you let it off, the bike would kind of lay down.
Yeah.
So not exact the same physics, but it's still pretty cool. Like, and I wish they had like more of those here. And I wish I could go to the arcade and get on, Moto 2 simulator and get to play around on it.
Well, there you go. There's a gap in the market that's not fulfilled yet. There's your $1 million idea. You just
Yeah.
gotta buy a whole bunch of them and sell them.
Now we'll have to cut this part out of the idea, come up with a business cut on this.
Right? Hey, I got so many ideas. I can't do them all, so I'm giving them away. You can have it.
Yeah.
But like Brandon Cretu, he was riding the Isle of Man. He did some Macau races, I think, and he's now a distributor for Ovale bikes, and he's selling them in the U.S. So like that's an opportunity he took on, and that's pretty cool. He's selling those mini bikes now.
Yeah, it's definitely always something. I'm always thinking too with my dad having the machine shop, and a lot of stuff we do is it's more like a job shop, and we kind of have customers, all year round, kind of like the same majority, like kind of the same parts. But I'm always trying to think of something that's a big need in racing or for bikes or cars or anything like that we could fulfill where it makes sense, financially, that we make money on, that people are interested in at the same price and stuff like that. And if only I would have thought of fidget spinners before they came out. We could have made
Yeah.
some pretty cool ones in the shop, but
So what's the next tool you think for race bikes? Is it going to be wings? Everybody's going to sell wings now for their bikes, or is it like they have the driven Mantis tire tire temperature sensor that you can put on and gauge the temperature of your tire in real time on your dash? Something like that.
oh shit, I actually haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, they
That'd be
sell it right
pretty
now.
nice.
It's already out, and they've been selling it for a few years. I was just thinking because playing the sim rig at my buddy's house, he's got overlaid on his screen his tire pressure and his tire temperature and tire wear right on the screen, so you can see like man, one of the things I do wrong is I overcook I'm really good in braking, and I'm too good sometimes, and I try to make up too much time in braking, right? So I end up locking up the tires sometimes in the car games, and I put too much pressure on the front tires so that I'm overcooking the fronts all the time. They're getting too hot, and even if I don't lock them up, they're getting too hot, and the tire pressures are too high because there's too much pressure on them. I need to use more of the rear tire out of the corner instead of always relying on the front end. So that's something that you see in these video games from the data that you get back. And if you have that in real time, you can see, oh look, I'm putting too much stress on the front end here. I need to maybe not brake so hard or brake in a different way, right? So you're not overusing your tires, especially like in endurance racing or if you don't have the money to buy new tires all the time. That tire management is so important.
Yeah. And then one thing even that's crazy, like we had some electronics on the bike this year, and I wanted all of it, like all the
Data.
just because I want all the buttons on the bar and stuff, but it didn't exactly work out that way because just kind of some of the stuff didn't make sense for on the Twins Cut bike. But I definitely think that there's a lot of needs, and like it seems like there's always stuff getting constantly developed. And one thing I've thought at of in the future of if I take over my dad's machine shop and stuff, trying to do something like Chuck Graves and put in a dyno room and sell some machines, get a couple new lathes, a couple new mills, and just do like research and development and take it to the track and test it, and maybe even eventually start a team or something. So I'm still like involved with motorsport, even, when my racing days are over, or, uh, or if for some reason something happens and I can't race, if, it's just like the thing that I love to do and want to be a part in, whatever way I can.
Yeah, that's great. I love the love for motorsports, and there's so many products. Again, talking about that, like what if you had a keyless ignition device? Because that ignition is what, 8 to 10 pounds or so. I mean, I'm sure you don't have an ignition on your race bike. Everybody takes them off. So what if you had just a button, but for street bikes, that's kind of dangerous, right? So you'd have to have some sort of like really lightweight locking system, because the key that's used, that's a huge weight that's not good for the bike's performance. So that would be if you can find some sort of locking mechanism that's super cheap, maybe a digital keypad or a LCD screen would be like 3 ounces versus 8 to 10 pounds. That would be a cheap upgrade that people could do. That if you made it a digital display, you could charge, I don't know, $50 or something.
Yeah, yeah, and then you just like pretty much like the dash could turn on with the switch, and then you put in like the code per se, or some kind of. I've
Right.
never thought about that. That's pretty good.
So I don't know. There's so many ideas out there, but um, just depends on what you want to do, what you want to produce. Like one of the
Yeah, for
products I
sure.
sell is a Motool suspension setup tool. So it sets your sag. Normally, to set your sag, how many people do you need? You need someone to hold the bike, someone to sit on the bike, and then someone to measure, right?
Yeah,
This is a digital tool that you can all do it yourself, by yourself, and it's awesome. So um, it takes two people out of the equation.
yeah, yeah, and stuff like that is just anytime, any way you can save time and money and effort is, especially the time, if it's, like especially in that scenario, if you need to get the bike set up before a weekend, and some people are hung up with something and you can't get the help, like you have to have it done.
Right.
It's definitely stuff like that that makes the world a difference.
Yep. And going back to what you said about like starting a team, I would love to eventually sell enough from Eric Swahn Racing, um, that I can afford to have a team of my own, at least for me to start with, and then eventually branch out. Like if I'm having more sponsors, and that helps out, and I'm selling more, like get a teammate, because that'll actually help me go faster, having somebody else to look at their data and compare notes with and all that stuff. And then maybe get a junior cup rider, right? And then get a teammate for him. How cool would that be, to be able to do that and give back to the sport? I don't know that I'd be able to pay for everything, right? But to be able to
Yeah,
help out at least with crew in place or transportation, um, and logistics and all that, I think would be so valuable to like a person like me 5 years ago would have loved that. I was talking to team owners and seeing what rides are out there, if any, as a amateur becoming pro, and it's very difficult unless you have 100 to $150,000 in cash. They don't want to talk to you.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely tough right now. I've been real fortunate to have a lot of good people lead me in the right way, and like even at the very least, if, with my dad's help and everything, and been able to race every year, and at least a pretty competitive package, or at least always doing the best that I can. And last year was kind of the first year that I kind of paid for, my costs like on my own. Like I said, like, without my dad paying for the stuff, and definitely realized how much the stuff is. And, it'd be getting up at 4 to go in the machine shop on the race weeks to try and get in as many hours before the weekend or whatever it is, and hope to come out with a good result to help put towards the next round. And um but I just know that it's definitely all very worth it, and that I wouldn't change it for anything, putting in the work and stuff. Definitely, I kind of take like some pride in that, being able to say that I did the year, not on my own. Of course, the team helped a tremendous amount, but, knew that I was able to come up with the stuff, my part on my own and everything.
You know, for a long time, I was really bitter and angry that it was so expensive as a sport. But in hindsight, I think it's actually, I don't know if it's a good thing, but it definitely weeds out a lot of people who are just half-assing it, who don't care about it. They're not going to stay in it, right? It's a level of dedication and passion you have to be able to stay in it. And for me, I would have never started a business, I don't think, if I didn't need the money, right? And so yeah, I can work a normal job and be great and make a decent amount of money like I'm making right now. And I don't need to have 2, 3 jobs, but I choose to because I need to make a couple $100,000 a year to do what I want to do. And I'm never going to do that at the job that I have. It's not going to happen. Not for a lot of people. So you got to think outside the box and be an idea man and execute.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely been real cool to kind of hear like your story and see how things came about. 'Cause I feel like that definitely adds some value, like seeing how everything started up. Because I'd always, see your stuff, but I wasn't necessarily always looking for parts. So maybe I didn't, look into it as much, but it's definitely, it's nice to see that, you have a lot of the essentials there already, for guys that, anybody watching this now,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
if you have some street bikes and, looking to get started, and I mean, I'd say one of the first place to start is, aside from a set of tires, is some tire warmers and some tank grips and stuff like that. It's all right there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great to sell the products that I used to use. It's like I actually use these products and I can talk about them. And sure, in some cases it might have been a different brand, but I know this stuff and it's good. And I wouldn't sell you some crap. I did start with the how I started selling online in general was when I was about I was very young. I started my own store online and years ago when I was like 10 years old, 12, I don't know. And it didn't really work out, but I started a store and I was like, now I have a store, but I have no money to advertise it. And social media wasn't around. And so I just kind of, I sold a few tiny things for a few dollars and then I just lost interest because I realized I couldn't afford to advertise for it. And then I was laid off from a job and I was selling all my old takeoff tires.
Oh yeah.
I was selling takeoff tires. All the ones that I used, I realized I sold on Craigslist, like with no problem. And I was like, man, there's something here. So I was laid off from this job, and I was like, I'm gonna take all this stuff I was gonna list on Craigslist. Well, I still put it out there, but I also put it on eBay now. And then once it was on eBay, I could sell it all around the world instead of just to the local Detroit community. So I realized, wow, there's something here. Let me start selling everything that I can get my hands on. What do I have around the house? I have books of CDs I don't need anymore. Let's go through the attic. I don't need all this stuff. Let's sell these electronics, this Game Boy, this old cell phone, this old stereo system, this old laptop, guitars, trombone, my cousin's trombone. I started doing commission and consignment. So my old friends' stuff that they don't need anymore, they would give me things to sell, and I'd send them a check when it sells for a percentage. I'd take a percentage, they take a percentage, depending on how much it was. And that worked out for a little while. And I'm still doing that, but I'm really not trying to take on any more stuff because I have too much. I still have stuff my buddy gave me months ago. I haven't inventoried yet. Sorry. And but what's really started to take off is drop shipping. So all these vendors that I have, like Driven and Core Moto, I don't have their products here. They send me their inventory, their spreadsheets, and I work magic and do a lot of hours in spreadsheets and Excel, getting it in a certain format to upload to eBay and Amazon and my own website. And so once it's on there, they can buy them, and we link our inventories together. Some of them don't have inventory outputs, like Driven and M4 are manufacturers, so they always have everything pretty much. Other vendors like Roland Sands Designs or Moto D, they have live inventory feeds that we have to link to. And sometimes they don't link properly and it's a pain in the butt. Like right now, one of the feeds is not linking and the inventory is wrong. Sorry if you buy it, because there's thousands of items and I can't go through each one individually. It's just not reasonable or realistic. So if you have 10 items, yeah, it's easy to do that. But when you have 10,000, you can't do it that way. It's just not possible. So you have to do it in batches and in large inventory feeds like this. So I've been doing that for I guess 5-6 years now, selling stuff online. And I mean, I started selling CDs on eBay in my parents' account in like '07 when I was pretty young. So I've been doing all of the online stuff for quite a while now and just trying to make Eric Swahn Racing really grow. And I want it to be my full-time gig so I can quit my job eventually and really spend more time on it, because it's a struggle right now, to be honest. It's very difficult to work a full-time job and come home and try to run a business and try to make it excel and do podcasts during the week at all kinds of times. You know, I'm happy to do it because it helps advertising and all this stuff, but it's just a lot of effort and motion. So trying to eventually do at least one job would be nice, not have to do multiple, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think I've, got to see kind of firsthand with my dad started his machine shop. And of course I wasn't old enough when he started in like 2000 to see everything unfold. But, from his stories, he had told me about how he was working at the Rouse Yates Racing NASCAR team, machining there, and then just kind of slowly like bought a machine. And then once he kind of got a couple jobs, and then he just kind of, like screw it and just kind of, quit up there. Was tired of the hour drive there and back every day. And then was like, well, we're gonna make this work one way or another. But of course, for a while there, he was working there and then building the shop at the same time. And then, like you're talking about, trying to start something while trying to keep what pays the bills too, until the new gig can pay the bills and get the stuff done.
For sure, yeah. It's I would recommend to anybody and everybody really, even if they have a great job, is do something on the side to eliminate the need for your job. Like, imagine if you didn't have to go to your job. Would you want to go there for fun? Do you love going there? Is that fun to you? If it's fun, then great. Then now you have two incomes. If one goes away, it's not a problem. Your life isn't shattered. But if one goes away and you only have one income, your life is ruined, and for a period maybe. Like so many people now lost their jobs. Millions of people. I don't even know the number of people that are unemployed now. Like racing is a very fickle thing, right? So you gotta be careful. And if machining is your thing, or maybe coming up with product ideas is your thing, then do that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely love it seems kind of similar to you with just trying to, keep money flowing. And, especially for racing, but also like you said, if something happens or whatever, don't have all the eggs in one basket. And it's definitely nice to have that, and even if, the business or whatever doesn't start out great from the beginning, at least the experience and learning and trial and error, until it does blow up. Because I mean, obviously, at least you're doing something right. I mean, I see you on my page and stuff, and now we're sitting here now, like,
It's
I definitely
working.
see it's at least working.
It's good to hear. So I think, one of your expertise that you can cash in on is you're a professional motorcycle racer. So you could do coaching easily because you're already a pro at it. You just got to get the right clientele and set up a track day or a kart track day. Who knows, maybe a parking lot track day.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a little bit of that in the past and definitely want to, but I think like anything, like you said, definitely, take some effort to start up. Because I think the more effort I would put into it would definitely get more out of it. Because I think lately, I mean, I have done it here and there, but I think if I took it a lot more serious, I could see a lot more return on it. And it definitely helps too, even getting to instruct some like corner spin and stuff. Definitely, Aaron has taught me a lot and everything, and kind of taught me how to teach. And I
Yeah.
think that that's kind of one thing that I would like to do in the future as well. Of course, like, yeah, no, we both have all these ideas. It's hard to pick and choose which ones to put the effort into. That's definitely one as well that would work out well with what the experience like I already have.
Well, I guess just don't write anything down, and whatever you remember tomorrow, just do that,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because whatever you remember is what really matters, and whatever sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you wanted to talk about today? What's on your mind?
I don't know. I just kind of been going with the flow. It seems like you said, it seems to kind of work the best. Just kind of going with it. And I drank a Red Bull earlier, so that helped me.
All hyped
That helped
up.
get me going.
Are you a caffeinated person like most of the time?
I'm not like a crazy coffee person. And I try not to drink like too many energy drinks, but I gotta say that the coconut edition Red Bulls are it for me, especially when I'm driving. Of course,
That's the
with
silver,
you know,
right?
yeah, of course, with racing, it's a lot of driving. I've drove like from South Carolina to California a few times, and I don't know what it is about the Red Bull, but it gets me going pretty good if I'm a little groggy in the morning or whatever it is.
I feel like you got to support the company who supports the sport so much, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Doesn't hurt. And I think I heard you say that Monster was not sponsoring Yamaha this year.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that it might be some new news to people who don't keep crazy up to date with that, but it's actually this year is the Attack Racing Fresh and Lean Yamaha that Josh Heron kind of brought in the Fresh and Lean, and so now it'll be Josh Heron and Jake Gagne there, which is kind of crazy to see that Monster not involved this year.
Well, I mean, maybe they're doing rider sponsorship, but maybe not a full team sponsorship.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know um, all the details with that stuff, but I'm sure that they wouldn't just completely cut dry out of everything. But I also heard rumors, but I'm not sure, so don't like quote me on it. But I think the MotoGP Yamaha team isn't Monster Energy either.
Oh, wow. Might be some
But I may
changes.
be wrong. Yeah,
Well, I'm sure. I mean, think about how many people didn't go and buy gas and go to the convenience store because they're at home. They're not working, or they're working from home and doing remote. So they're not even driving in their car. Like the roads, it's so strange. I'm going into work every day. I have to physically be there to print paperwork and talk to truck drivers and direct people to different places. So I always have to go in. I can't work remotely, unfortunately. But it seems like most days ebb and flow with the traffic. I'm in Sterling Heights, Michigan, so I'm going from Pontiac to Sterling Heights back and forth and through on the highway. And some days it's like there's no traffic. Some days it's medium traffic, but some days it's dead and there's like nobody on the road. Like what's different about today? What changed?
yeah,
It just seems so strange that, and I'm going home at the same exact time every day, and it changes so much. How many people are on the road?
yeah. It's definitely been crazy how much the everything has changed because of Corona and stuff. Aside from even the racing stuff, yeah, to even just like daily traffic and stuff like that. And now like masks are just normal. Where before I can't think of any time I saw anybody wear a mask anywhere. Like it,
Maybe a
and now
couple of
it's
people here and there, but nothing like you see today. And I feel so strange putting a mask on right before I go into a business. I'm like, am I gonna rob this place?
yeah. The actually one of my coworkers at my dad's shop, or if anyone wants to check it out, Finish Line Machine out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. But one of the guys there, DJ, was like, Yeah, I never thought I'd walk into a bank with a mask on.
It feels
And
strange.
not robbing the bank.
Yeah. Strange times we have here. But let's do a little sponsor shout out segment here. Tell me about who's your sponsors on board still for this year, and what can you tell me about them?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of working out majority um of stuff right now, so I don't have a whole lot to talk about. But definitely HJC helmets. I've been with them for the last couple seasons and really love their stuff. And they've always been real good to me and keep me in the the nicest helmets. Especially they have the Marvel and DC contracts and stuff with Pixar, and so they always have real cool designs, and they're the number one selling helmet in the world, which
What
I think
what
says.
model do you run?
I run the Arfa 11 Pro, um, and I believe that there is a new helmet that we kind of been wearing before that wasn't released yet. That's will be coming out this year. Um, so that's pretty exciting with them coming out with a new helmet and like a new design. And then aside from that, one of my biggest sponsors or is kind of like my dad's business, Finish Line Machine. Um, brought me into racing and got me this far. And so definitely a big shout out to them. And yeah, I work for them, and then he helps me out and all of the above there.
It's
And
awesome.
then the majority of the stuff I'm still trying to get through. I haven't It's not the first time I've been in this situation where it's about 2 months away from the season start and don't really have an exact plan. But that seems to be how racing goes most of the time. Real last minute. I'm sure we'll be getting the bike together, the week before the race or whatever it is,
Oh yeah.
but they'll be racing one way or another.
That's good to see. And future plans, you're going to be racing in Moto America, hopefully the Twins Cup class for a few rounds at least. And what do you want to do in the future? What is your journey look like, you think?
Yeah, so this year I'm looking at like the select Mid America rounds, most likely the East Coast stuff at least, along with the into slash weir endurance stuff.
Okay. You didn't
Uh,
do the whole series for that or try to?
Trying to, yeah. It's not like exactly official, but it's looking very likely. So I feel pretty sure I'll be at all those rounds. Except there's one conflicting round with Mid America, so there might be a decision there, one way or another, kind of depending on each thing.
You get more track time with the endurance, but you get more TV time with the Moto America.
Yeah, it's all kind of give and take there. Um, and then kind of looking forward from there, I'd really like to start my own team. Um, I kind of like a privateer effort. Like I'd like to kind of transfer into to me owning the bikes and having like a mechanic and stuff and kind of running my own show. 'Cause I feel like I've been learning a lot more with marketing and advertising, and I feel like I can put together a really good package. But I just need more time. This year, I learned a lot this past off season, but was kind of started a little late on it. And so I'm looking for in the future for the next season, like, 2022, starting, way earlier and trying to put together a program. And I think that with all the experience I've learned, especially from my dad racing before me and all the people that I've met, I could run a pretty decent team for myself. Uh, probably of course start out with just me. Even like you were talking about, it's easier to start with lower variables and then maybe work up to something bigger.
Right. You don't have to buy 16 bikes all at once. You just need one to start with, and then hopefully you get a B bike, and then a teammate if you can. Now a teammate is an interesting proposition because they could bring money, they could also bring sponsors, or they could be a championship contender, right? And they could now bring a ton of clout or respectability to your team. So imagine you get like the runner-up or the championship winner to be on your team. Now he could bring a lot over to your team in terms of maybe mechanics or it might be maybe better to get a teammate sooner rather than just doing yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a lot of things to think about, a lot of options, and there's no wrong way to do it. I mean, there's a lot of people who did it before, like Elena Myers. She had her own team and did McGraw Power Sports, I think was her title sponsor. So I mean, it's doable. You got to be ambitious and make tons of phone calls and get about 7,000 no's before it's going to happen. But it can happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we're about an hour and a half right now. I still have some orders to ship today. So let's wrap it up here. Is there any parting words you want to say today?
I really appreciate you having me on. It was a nice time. I always get a little nervous for like a little, like interview thing, but it was real. I think everything went real smooth. I don't think we really had much any mess ups, and yeah, I just appreciate you having me on, and it was nice getting to talk with you and kind of, get to meet you kind of virtually, and it seems like we already kind of share some stuff alike, at least with the motorsport stuff, and for sure keep in contact. And for everybody watching, I appreciate everybody. Hopefully everybody made it this far, and maybe learned something, maybe not, but at least enjoyed the conversation. And everybody go check out ericswanracing.com.
I appreciate it,
along
man.
with jacksonblackmanracing.com.
Yeah, so tell everybody, where can they find you online? Are you on YouTube, Instagram? Where are you?
Yeah, so at Instagram, it's at jblackman_18. Same for Twitter, and then Jackson Blackman Racing on Facebook, and jacksonblackmanracing.com, which is just kind of website with my information and with new news and stuff like that.
And are you putting out videos on YouTube or anything?
I do have a YouTube channel under Jackson Blackman that I'd like to get some more content onto soon, because I have at least a start there. But I'm looking to try and make some kind of vlogs or videos at some point this year.
Yeah, I see guys like Nolan Lampkin. He's been putting out tech tips and all kinds of stuff about, how to clean your brakes, or, cupcake trays sometimes, like all kinds of stuff, like whatever you use around the track that people don't know about. It's knowledge that people need or they don't have.
Yeah, for sure. And we should definitely plan to do something again sometime, or if we see each other at the track or whatever.
Yeah. Well, let's say when you get your first Twins Cup win, let's come on back on here and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna spend some time editing this. I still have a few that I have to do in the queue before this. So it'll take me a week or two to get this published and edited, but make sure when I do that you share it and we tag everybody we talked about so we can get as many eyeballs as possible on it. And thanks everybody for watching, and have a great day.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.